If she want to leave because her man doesn't listen to her and validate her feelings, she has every right to go find a man that does. Let's stop telling our women to stay, and then when they stay and they end up on the news, then it's like she should have left. Let's mind
Do
our
they
business.
always end up on the
But you
news?
just have to, Ali, they were about to say that. I feel like as women, sometimes we have to be quiet and let them reach that point.
A question. I just want to know, why does the black woman have to be grilled on why she want to leave? Why can't she just
I
leave?
didn't grill. Did I grill you on why you wanted to
I'm
leave?
not saying by you.
Ali, before you ask the question, can I just say one thing? I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I don't mean to interrupt. I want to say first to Aisha, I'm sorry about your daughter. I feel like that's really hard, and I think I could really appreciate you mentioning something like that because that's real vulnerable. I also want to say to Sweeney, and I think Will, that well, Sweeney started the conversation, but basically like when they were asking that question, I chose to take a victim mindset and push back and like prod the situation because I didn't want to be vulnerable. So I feel like it's important it's important to acknowledge when you were wrong. Like Aisha said, hindsight is 2020. So the the statements that was making, they were being exploited because I felt like I was putting up a guard for attack because it was two of y'all. Not because like y'all are dangerous, but more so about me and my choice on how I chose to respond. Um, and I do want to say it's important to what Darwin said about checking in with the woman that's talking. And like I did say earlier that men don't listen, but Darwin is actually listening and asking clarifying questions. So I started to like be quiet. I was watching for the background, but I started to be quiet when he started to ask questions and not make statements because he was listening and trying to understand the situation. um so I could appreciate that and say that I was wrong in making that blanketed statement. uh and also acknowledge that like you displaying behaviors that I've seen but I'm unfamiliar with, which is why I made that blanketed statement. But I think after like hearing what everybody said, it's like what Darwin said, it's like the compatibility. Like, you would lose your job if you're trying to make two people who aren't compatible make their relationship work. And he kind of referenced how it's important to see what that person wants and help them get that objective, which also made me realize he listening too and like double down that I was wrong in what I said. But I think to Darwin's point, compatibility is important, and figuring out what that person wants and helping them do that is good. And also M White just being like, study the people you want to be like, and him talking about future planning and how you have to be around somebody you trust and how it's important to, maybe y'all not gonna hear it from us, but he still gave instruction to people to be their best self, which was crazy. And also Will um saying like, let's take some time to love on Vaughn because she was being vulnerable. So I think seeing us treat and I'm so used to like us like disagreeing. In the midst of those disagreements, I did see us like being there for each other and supporting each other and listening to each other and being kind to each other and realize when somebody's being vulnerable and learning how to ask the right questions and listening. So I guess I am like a little a little less like, defensive because I've actually seen the things that I'm saying don't exist. Right. So like it's good to be the butt of the joke in that way. But just everybody on here has been so vulnerable today, like using real life experiences, and I think that's given people clarity. And I think like trusting that it's okay to give that real life experience was a turn point. Because I see us disagree so much, but we've disagreed in a good way today, which is I mean, I haven't been on the panel long, but I just wanted to point that out, that like I and take accountability as a Black woman and be like, I was definitely wrong and I have seen things go differently today. But
I just wanted to say, oh, my bad,
Appreciate
my
that.
bad. Go
I
ahead.
will mute, but I just wanted to say that.
That
Yeah,
was engaging. Appreciate
I just wanted to say something real quick. As far as Aisha's situation, and we appreciate you being vulnerable about that situation. Now, I don't know how many of y'all been around like a dope fiend or anything like that, that's like the last person you can trust, right?
Mhm.
And even if people feel like they're going to get better, there's always the chance of relapse, and they are just a liability. And when you're looking at that person to be a leader, it's terrifying. You are better off removing yourself from that situation, because at that point, that person no longer has control. Once that thing got a hold on you, you are no longer you. That person you once loved, it's a shell of that person. So I would say kudos for leaving that situation, because it was dangerous, and I could understand why she said it's dangerous. When a person is your liability, they have everything at risk. Like, they're risking your life. They're not going to be responsible. They'll do things as stupid as leaving the doors unlocked. I done seen people try to sell off their kids, man. I'm just saying, that's a no-go. You can't ever trust a dope fiend. It is what it is. So again, kudos, Aisha, for being vulnerable about it and leaving.
What
Yeah,
about the other
I was
race?
going.
I want to
I
say
was
real
going.
quick before I was interrupted. I'll let you go, Sweeney. I just want to say, to speak on someone else's relationship, to listen to them be vulnerable and then judge and be like, well, you should have stayed or you could have worked through that. We got to get out of that. We got to, like, I like the fact we came to an empathetic stance, and some people actually encouraged her and said, hey, I'm glad you left, because it's too many times that the woman stays and then she's on the news and then y'all like, oh, she should have left. Like, we can't win. So let's stop judging each other's relationships. Let's stop asking each other, why did you leave? Wow, that wasn't a good enough reason. Everybody has a different tolerance level. That's why we're not compatible. Everybody, if that's the case, if everybody had the same tolerance level, we would all be having sex and be procreating and married. The reason why you have one person out of 3, 4, 7 billion people is because of what you're willing to tolerate. So if she want to leave because he on drugs, let her leave. If she want to leave because her man doesn't listen to her and validate her feelings, she has every right to go find a man that does. Let's stop telling our women to stay, and then when they stay and they end up on the news, then it's like she should have left. Let's mind our
They
business.
always end up on the
But
news.
you just have to, Ali, they were about to say that. I feel like as women, sometimes we have to be quiet and let them reach that point. Like, I feel like they were so close to getting there. And with all due respect, the way I realized I was approaching it and being combative and taking a second, like, you gotta be quiet and learn that, like, there was an opportune time and he just actually showed this woman support, and he actually just said that, and then you asked for it to happen. So I think also realizing what you want is happening, because
Yeah, I
men do
agree, but
have, hold on, let
it
me,
was
I'm not,
men
I appreciate
that.
you trying to take up for me earlier. I do, but I'm just saying this the
No, it
same
wasn't
way.
for you. I don't even know you. It was just because of
Okay.
my point of view and women as a whole. But you're not gonna silence me. I said what I said. I feel how I feel. Let's not silence and censor one another either. I will acknowledge that there were some men that did agree with you, but there were some men that didn't. So I said, as going forward, let's just make it a standard to respect each other's relationships and mind each other's business and stop asking each other questions on, oh, you should have stayed. So that's my opinion. I don't want to be censored
I'm
about
not
it.
challenging your opinion. I'm just saying it's okay to ask clarifying
I'm
questions, and
not,
they were
you can
trying
be
to understand.
quiet. I won't. Thank you.
So
Okay.